This is the homework video for 4/14/15, Tuesday night, and you should do this work on the handout that you got in class today. Alrighty, so this first problem says that Phil had to graph some points. The points he had to graph were 2, 5, and 2, -3, and after he graphed those points, he was also supposed to write what the slope was. Phil said that the slope was 0. That's what he said the slope was, and he graphed the points. However, his slope is incorrect. So he graphed the points correctly, but his slope is incorrect. You need to answer these two questions, and then you need to turn the video back on and listen and watch. Turn the video off and answer the questions on your own. Alright, so he graphed 2, 5. He went over 1, 2, and up 5. He went over 2. You always start at the origin, so he went over 2 here and up 5. And he went over 2 and down 3 for 2, -3. This line is correctly graphed. But he said that the slope was 0, and it's not 0. So what is the slope? Well, it's undefined. And how do you know that 8 divided by 0 is not equal to 0? Well, you can't make groups of 0. If you were trying to make groups of 0 and then figure out how many groups of 0 were in 8, you can't do that. You can't make groups of 0. And if you did it on the calculator, it says error. Try that. Try doing 8 divided by 0. You should get an error message because it's not possible to divide any number by 0. Okay, let's go to the next part. This time it's your turn. You need to do two things here. You need to graph those points and draw the line with a ruler so it's nice and straight, and then you need to write the slope. Turn the video off and do that. Turn it back on when you're ready. Alright, so I went, for this first one, I went over 5, so here's 0. I went over 5 and up 2. And then for this one, I went over 3, but I went into the negative and up 2. So this is my line. And then it said that I had to find the slope, so I used the slope formula that you were using last night, where I did y2 minus y1, 2 minus 2, 2 minus 2 is 0, and then I did x2, -3, minus x1, 5. -3 minus 5 is -8. If you do 0 divided by -8, you get 0. So the slope of this line is 0, and the line should look like this. And this is the work that you should have shown, because now that you know the slope formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, they want you to use that on these papers. Whoops. This next question, they really messed it up when they wrote this worksheet, because it said she solved the problem correctly, but the student, Stephanie, was supposed to do two things. They were supposed to find the slope of the graph, see, up here, these were her directions, find the slope and determine what the slope means. Well, so if you found the slope, then the rise here is 12 and the run is 1, and so the slope is 12 divided by 1, which is 12. And actually I should have used the slope formula, because it says to use the slope formula. For some reason the worksheet doesn't show that. It should have shown you that, because it said she did it correctly. So the slope is 12, and it says what is the meaning of the slope? Well, it asks you that over here, and describe the meaning of the slope. It says the meaning of the slope, every hour worked earns $12 of income. So now the question here says, how did she know what the slope represented? That's what you're going to try and answer. How did Stephanie know what the slope of 12 represented down here? How did she know that? I want you to answer that question on your paper. Turn the video off now, do that, and turn it back on and listen and watch. Alright, so if I use the slope formula, this point right here is 224. And this point over here is 112. So if I do y2 24 minus y1 12, I'm going to get 24 minus 12 is 12, and over here 2 minus 1 equals 1. It's the same thing I got when I put in the slope triangle, and 12 over 1 is 12. But how did she know what it represented? She said that it represented every hour worked earns $12 of income. She knew what it represented because if you look here, this is hours worked. And if you look for 1, you always want to figure out what it is at 1. And your slope always means what it is at 1. That's why you write it this way. So if you look here, this is hours worked. So for every 1 hour worked, you earn $12. So you use the labels on X and Y to decide what the slope means. You use the labels on the X and Y. Okay, so now it's your turn. You have to figure out what the slope is, use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and what is the meaning of the slope. Write both of those answers down before you turn the video back on and check it. Turn the video off now. Okay, so I did this wrong because I used the slope triangle, and I am not allowed to do that. I am supposed to use the slope formula. So I'll do it again. This point right here is 10, 2. And this point right here is 5, 1. So if I do y2, I'll make the y2 2 minus y1. That's going to be 1. And if I do x2, 10 minus 5, that's going to be 2. Therefore, the slope is 1/2 or 0.5. You can write it either way. Okay. Oh, wait. 10 minus 5 is not 2. 10 minus 5 is not 2, folks. Let's try that again, Mrs. Stuffin. 10 minus 5 is actually 5. And if you did 1/5, that'd be 0.2. You can write it either way, 1/5 or 0.2. That was a big mistake. All right, now, what is the meaning of the slope? Well, if I look over here, this is pencils. So for every one pencil, the cost is 0.2. Every pencil costs 20 cents, or 0.2. Okay, it's always every one. It always starts that way. So for every one pencil, the cost is 20 cents. You are now done with homework, and you may go enjoy yourself and have fun in an appropriate and safe way that your parents would approve of. I'll see you tomorrow, guys.